The evening sky looked soft and quiet as the sun slowly faded behind the tall buildings. A warm orange glow touched every corner of the balcony where Keanu and Sandra sat together. The city sounded distant. Cars were moving far below them and voices blended with the gentle wind. But their balcony felt different. It felt like a place where hidden thoughts could finally breathe. Right from the beginning, something about this night felt unusual. Keanu could sense it, even though Sandra had not said anything yet. She kept staring at the horizon as if she was searching for a moment from her past that she had not shared with anyone before. This silence around her made Keanu curious because Sandra was usually open and relaxed around him. But tonight her eyes looked heavier, filled with a truth she had carried too long. The hook of the night began when Keanu asked a soft question. It was not planned. It just slipped out of him because he could feel there was something inside her that wanted to come out. He said very gently, "Tell me about your favorite memory. The one you never told anyone." He expected a simple reply, maybe a funny childhood story or a sweet moment from a past film set, but Sandra did not answer. Instead, her shoulders lowered slightly like she had been holding something for years. Her fingers brushed the edge of her cup. She breathed in slowly. Then she looked at him with an expression that instantly made Keanu realize that this was not about a normal memory. It was deeper. It was heavier. It was something connected to her heart in a way she rarely showed to anyone. From that moment, the mood changed. The story of the night began without either of them planning it. Keanu watched her closely, and the quiet pause made him feel a soft wave of worry inside. He wanted her to take her time. He wanted her to trust him enough to open up. She finally whispered, "Maybe I am ready to tell you today." Her voice was calm but almost shaky, as if she was stepping into a past she had avoided for a long time. This made Keanu lean in just a little, not to pressure her, but to show her that he was present. He understood that moments like this were fragile. One wrong word could close someone off, so he stayed patient and silent. Sandra began by telling him that her favorite memory was not something joyful in the usual way. It was not a big celebration, not an award night, not a grand moment. Instead, it came from a time when she felt weak, tired, and unsure of herself. She said it quietly, almost like she was afraid of sounding vulnerable. She explained that there had been a day in her past when she was close to giving up on her career. She did not look away while speaking. She kept her eyes on him, as if she wanted him to understand every small detail. Keanu felt a soft ache inside his chest when she said the words "giving up." He had never imagined that she had once reached such a point. She described how she woke up on that old morning with a heavy heart. She remembered feeling invisible on the film set. She said people were busy, everyone was rushing. No one noticed how much pressure she was under. She felt lost in the noise, lost in the world she had worked so hard to be part of. She remembered standing alone near a trailer door, holding back tears because she did not want anyone to see her break. Keanu listened so closely that it felt like the world had stopped for him. He never knew that she had been through this. He felt a sadness growing inside him, imagining her standing there alone, carrying pain no one else saw. Her voice softened even more when she said she almost walked away from everything that day. She felt she was not strong enough to continue. She felt she was failing. She felt nobody saw her effort or her struggle. This part of her story created the emotional core of the moment. It pulled Keanu deeper. It pulled the viewer deeper. It created the kind of connection that makes a person want to stay for the whole story. Sandra said she turned away from the set that day, planning to leave quietly. She wanted to disappear before anyone asked questions. She did not want pity. She only wanted peace. But something happened that changed everything. She said she did not want to reveal it yet. She wanted to build towards it slowly. She wanted him to understand that the memory had shaped her life. She looked away again, her eyes reflecting the soft city lights. Keanu felt a growing suspense inside him. He could sense that this moment from her past was not only powerful but also deeply personal. He gently asked what happened next, but she did not answer immediately. Instead, she gave a small, sad smile, like someone remembering a moment that changed their path forever. She said, "That day someone helped me without knowing they helped me. Someone said something to me that stayed in my heart for years. Someone made me believe again. Someone made me feel seen at a moment when I felt completely invisible." Keanu felt a strange feeling in his chest. It was not recognition yet, but it was close. The way she spoke, the softness of her tone, the detailed memory of words spoken long ago. Something felt familiar to him in a way he could not explain. He tried to recall if he had ever comforted someone on a set like that. He had always been gentle and kind to people around him, but he never kept track of his small acts. He never expected them to matter so much to someone. Sandra looked at him again and said, "This memory became the turning point of my life. It became the thing that made me continue when I was ready to give up. It became the moment that saved me. She stopped speaking after that. She did not reveal the full truth yet. She let the silence fill the balcony again. The viewer could feel the tension. Keanu could feel the tension. He felt the slow tightening inside him, the suspense pulling him in. He waited, not knowing that this night would reveal something he never expected. Her eyes held something deep, something unsaid, something that would soon open the door to a revelation that would shake him in a way he never imagined. But she was not ready to say it yet, not in part one, not before she built the emotional road that would take him to the truth. And so the night continued with the weight of a memory that was about to change everything. The night air grew cooler as Sandra continued to sit quietly beside Keanu. The soft city lights reflected in her eyes, making her look lost between her past and her present. Keanu did not push her to speak. He knew she needed a little more time, and he respected her silence. He could feel something important was coming, something she had kept inside for many years. He felt the weight of her memory even before she spoke again. And yet he remained patient, because he understood that some stories only unfold when a person finally feels safe. After a long moment, Sandra slowly turned her head and looked at him. Her expression was calm but uncertain, like she was trying to decide whether the world was ready to hear the truth she had held for so long. She began speaking again, and her voice carried a mixture of fear and honesty that made Keanu listen even more closely. She said that after she walked away from the set that day, she felt like the world was closing in on her. She felt she had no strength left. She felt there was no point continuing. Nothing felt right anymore. She did not blame anyone. She just felt tired in a way that sleep could not fix. She paused again, and Keanu could feel her pain as if it were happening right in front of him. She then explained how she found herself standing near a small, shaded corner of the set. She remembered leaning against a wall, hoping no one would see her tears. She hated crying on days when she needed to be strong. She hated the idea of looking weak in a world where everyone expected perfection. She said she pressed her hands against her face, wishing she could disappear just for a moment. That image stayed in Keanu's mind. He could almost see her there, alone in the shadows, hiding emotions she did not want anyone to notice. The thought made his chest tighten with sympathy. Sandra continued, saying she did not expect anyone to come near her. She thought she was completely alone. The rest of the crew was far away, busy with equipment, rehearsals, and conversations. She was sure that her quiet breakdown would go unnoticed, and for a moment she wanted it that way. She did not want questions, she did not want attention, she just wanted to breathe. But then she heard footsteps, soft ones, slow ones, hesitant ones. Footsteps that in her memory sounded almost gentle, as if the person walking towards her already sensed that something was wrong. When she heard those steps, she quickly wiped her face, pretending she was fine. Keanu felt a strange pull in his stomach. Something about this part of her story felt familiar to him, though he could not clearly place the memory. He waited without interrupting her, even though his heartbeat had grown just a little faster. Sandra said that someone stepped in front of her. She did not lift her head at first because she did not want to show her swollen eyes. She was afraid the person might ask if she was crying. She was afraid the question would break her again, but instead she heard a soft voice saying something she never forgot. She remembered every single word even after so many years. She remembered the tone, the warmth, the sincerity. She remembered how the voice did not ask her what was wrong. It simply said something that made her feel seen without exposing her vulnerability. She said the person told her, "You are stronger than you think. You will be all right." She said those words felt like a gentle hand reaching inside her chest and pulling her back from a dark place. She said they were simple words, but simple words can save people too. She finally looked up at the person who said it, and she remembered seeing a soft smile. Not a big one, not a forced one, just a quiet one that carried more comfort than anyone else had given her in months. She said she did not know why those few words mattered so much, but they did. They reminded her that she was human, not a machine. They reminded her that she had the strength to continue. They reminded her that she did not need to give up that day. Keanu listened without blinking. The line she repeated, "You are stronger than you think," settled in his mind like a whisper from his own past. He knew those words. He had said them before. His memory began to flicker. He remembered a rainy afternoon. He remembered seeing an actress standing alone near a trailer door. He remembered the small moment when he tried to comfort her. But everything was still blurry. Everything felt like a distant dream he had never revisited. He did not want to assume anything, so he stayed silent. Sandra continued her story. She said that after hearing those words, she felt a wave of calmness wash over her. She felt like the heavy fog inside her slowly lifted. She had no idea why that person noticed her pain when no one else did. She had no idea why they took the time to check on her, but she was grateful, deeply grateful. She said she stood straighter after that. She wiped her tears for the last time. She returned to the set with a renewed heart, and she kept going. She did not quit. She did not leave. She did not give up. She stayed because of that moment. The balcony felt breathless as she spoke. The quiet around them felt like a blanket wrapping both of them in something gentle but powerful. Keanu finally asked, softly, who was the person. Sandra looked at him, but she did not answer. Instead, she said something that made the suspense rise even more. She said, "You might think you know the answer, but you really do not. Not completely. Not yet." She wanted him to understand that the memory was not just about a sentence spoken years ago. It was about something deeper, something connected to him in a way he never expected. She told him that the memory had shaped her life more than she ever admitted. It became the moment she held on to during difficult times. It became the moment she remembered when she doubted herself. It became the moment she carried like a quiet treasure inside her heart. Keanu felt something shift inside him. His breathing slowed. He felt a mix of confusion, curiosity, and an emotion he could not name. He wondered if his suspicion was correct, yet he feared assuming too quickly. Sandra then said something that pushed the suspense to another level. She said, "I never told the person that they saved me that day, not once, and they never knew." She told him that revealing this now felt frightening because she had carried the secret for years. She was afraid of how the truth would affect the present. She was afraid of how he would react when he learned everything. She looked away again, her eyes shining with emotion. Keanu reached out his hand slowly, placing it gently on the wooden railing beside hers. He did not touch her hand, but he placed his close enough to show comfort without crossing any boundary. He told her she could tell him when she was ready. He told her that whatever the truth was, he wanted to hear it with an open heart. His voice was soft, steady, and safe. That made Sandra take another slow breath as her courage began to rise. She whispered, "The truth will change everything between us." And the night grew even quieter, preparing for the reveal that was still waiting ahead. The night around them began to feel heavier, as if the city understood that something important was unfolding on that quiet balcony. The soft wind brushed against the railing while the distant city lights flickered like tiny stars. Sandra sat still, her hands resting gently on her lap, while Keanu watched her with calm patience. The weight of her unfinished confession floated between them, shaping the air with a silent tension neither of them could ignore. It felt like the world had paused, waiting for her to take the next step. Sandra tried to speak, but the words stayed stuck in her throat. She closed her eyes for a moment and took a slow breath. Keanu noticed this and shifted slightly toward her, his face soft with concern. He did not interrupt. He never pushed. His quiet presence made it easier for her to breathe, yet his silence also made the truth feel even more fragile. She knew that revealing her secret would change the way he looked at her forever. She had lived with that fear for years. It had kept her silent. It had kept her memory locked inside her heart. After another long pause, she finally whispered, "Everything that happened that day shaped who I became." She said she had kept that memory private because it felt too personal, too meaningful to share carelessly. She believed that if she spoke about it too soon, the magic of that moment might fade. She wanted to protect it because it was the one thing that had saved her when she was drowning inside her own mind. Keanu listened with stillness, the kind of stillness that comes from deep understanding. He felt something inside him reach out to her. He wanted to help her carry the weight of whatever she was about to reveal. He could not explain why, but every part of him sensed that her story was leading toward something he was not prepared for, something that would make him question the way he remembered the past. Sandra looked at him again, and this time her eyes were filled with a mix of fear and courage. She continued speaking, telling him how she had returned to the film set after hearing those comforting words. She remembered walking back with her head held a little higher. She remembered feeling a new strength inside her chest. But she also said she never forgot the face of the person who helped her. She kept that face in her heart like a quiet light that reminded her she was never truly alone. Keanu felt his heart beat a little faster. He wanted to ask again who the person was, but he stopped himself. He could tell she needed to let the story unfold in her own time. She needed to pass through every memory slowly because each detail mattered to her. So he stayed quiet, even though his curiosity grew stronger with every word she said. Sandra continued telling him how that moment changed her career. She explained how she found new courage to face difficult roles. She learned to speak up when she needed support. She learned to be proud of her efforts even when no one noticed. All those changes, she said, came from that one small moment. She repeated that she never knew someone's words could lift a person so deeply. She never knew kindness could be so powerful. Keanu felt something warm move through him, but that warmth was tangled with confusion. He wondered if he was imagining the familiarity he felt. He wondered if he was trying too hard to place himself in her memory. He did not want to assume something that might not be true. He did not want to take credit for a moment that belonged to someone else. So he kept his thoughts inside, listening with respect. Sandra took another breath and finally began describing the face she remembered from that day. She said the person had gentle eyes. She said the person had a calm smile. She said the person looked at her not with pity, but with understanding. She then added something that made Keanu's breath falter. She said, "The way that person looked at me is the same way you are looking at me right now." Those words echoed between them. Keanu felt his pulse rise. A small part of him knew what she was trying to say, but he refused to believe it fully. He wanted her to finish the story. He wanted her to reveal it herself. He wanted to hear the truth spoken from her own heart. She explained that she thought about telling the person many times during the years that followed. She remembered wanting to walk up to them on later sets and tell them how much their kindness had changed her life. She remembered wanting to write it down somewhere, but she always stopped herself. She thought the person might find it strange or unnecessary. She thought the moment belonged in the past. She thought it was enough that it helped her, even if the person never knew. Keanu felt a small tightness in his chest. He knew that feeling well. He had always believed that kindness did not need to be remembered. He had never expected people to come back and thank him. But hearing Sandra describe the impact of that moment made him realize that sometimes the smallest actions travel farther than a person ever expects. Sandra then revealed something she had never said aloud before. She said she avoided revealing the truth because she was afraid it would change the way the other person saw her. She feared they might feel uncomfortable, or think she admired them too much, or think she depended on them emotionally. She wanted to maintain her independence. She wanted to stand strong in her own identity. And at the same time, she wanted to protect the gentle memory she held close. Keanu leaned forward a little, his voice soft as he asked, "Is the person still in your life?" Sandra nodded slowly. She said yes. The person became someone she trusted deeply, someone who respected her, someone who became more important to her than she ever admitted. She then added, "You know this person very well." Her voice trembled slightly as she said it. Keanu's heart grew heavier. He felt the truth rising between them like a wave approaching the shore. He felt that everything she said was guiding him toward the same conclusion. She could see that he was beginning to understand. She saw his eyes widen slightly, as if he could finally see the path her story had been taking all along. Sandra looked down at her hands, gathering one last bit of courage. She whispered, "I think you have already guessed who it was." Keanu did not answer. He wanted her to say it clearly when she was ready. Sandra lifted her head slowly, and the look in her eyes carried years of unspoken truth. She said, "The person who helped me that day was you." But before Keanu could react, she added something unexpected, something that deepened the mystery instead of ending it. She said, "But that is not the whole truth. You do not know what happened after, and that is the real part of the story I never told." The reveal had only begun. The deeper truth still waited ahead. The moment Sandra said the words, "The person who helped me was you," the balcony fell into a deeper silence than before. It was not an empty silence. It was full of memories they did not know they shared, full of feelings neither of them had spoken aloud, full of a truth that had been waiting for years to come to the surface. Keanu sat completely still, his mind sinking into the memory he had only faintly recalled until now. He finally remembered the rainy day, the quiet struggle he had sensed, the few words he had spoken without expecting anything in return. His heart softened as he looked at her, but before he could reply, she added the words that changed everything. She said that was not the whole truth. Her voice trembled as she said it, as if she was stepping into a part of her past she feared would change the present forever. Keanu leaned a little closer without meaning to. He wanted to understand. He wanted to know what she had held back all these years. She looked away for a moment, gathering herself. She pressed her fingers lightly against her arm, grounding her breath. Then she looked at him again, and her eyes were filled with a mixture of courage and fear. She said after he walked away that day, she watched him for a moment, wondering how someone could offer so much comfort in such a small gesture. She remembered wanting to go after him and thank him, but she felt too fragile. She worried she might cry again. She worried she might not be able to form the right words, so she let him go, believing she would find the right time to thank him later. But that time never came, not in the way she planned. She said her days became busy again. She grew stronger, yes, but she also grew quieter about her feelings. She carried that moment inside her as a private gift, something that did not need to be shared out loud. Keanu listened, but he sensed she still had more to say. Her hands trembled very slightly, and he noticed it. Without touching her, he shifted closer again, showing he was listening with his whole heart. She continued, saying that the real truth was not just that he comforted her. The real truth was something she discovered much later, something that connected them far more deeply than he ever imagined. She explained that a year after that moment, she was going through another rough phase in her life, a time when she doubted herself again, a time when she felt she had lost her sense of direction. She said she was sitting alone in her home one night when she found a small notebook she kept for emotional reminders. Inside it, she had written down the words Keanu had spoken to her. She said she wrote them the same night he said them because she never wanted to forget them. She held onto those words every time she felt weak. Keanu felt his heart tighten as she described this. He never realized his quiet act had followed her into her life like a guiding light. He never expected she kept something so simple so close. Sandra said the deeper truth was this. She said she built an important part of her confidence on that moment. She built her self-belief on it. She built her strength on it. She said whenever she felt unsure of herself, she imagined the way he looked at her that day, calm, steady, understanding. And she used that memory to stand back up again. She paused, letting him absorb the weight of her confession. Keanu felt a soft ache growing in his chest. He felt humbled, almost overwhelmed. He had never thought that something he said without much thought could become the foundation for someone else's strength. He shook his head slowly, not out of disbelief, but out of something softer, something like gratitude that she trusted him enough to reveal this. But Sandra still was not done. She took a deeper breath and said, "That day changed my career, yes, but it also changed something inside my heart." She explained that she began seeing him differently from that moment forward. She saw him not just as a colleague and not just as a friend. She saw him as the kind of person who understood pain without needing explanations, the kind of person who offered kindness without expecting anything back. That made her admire him in a way she never dared to express. Keanu felt the tension rising inside him again. He did not know where her words were leading, but every sentence carried a deeper meaning. Sandra said she tried to ignore those feelings at first. She told herself it was just gratitude. She told herself it was just respect. But over time, she realized it was more, much more, and that truth scared her. She feared that admitting it would change everything between them. She feared losing the comfort of being around him, so she buried it. She admitted that her silence became a habit. Every time she worked with him, every time they laughed together, every time they shared a quiet moment, she carried the secret inside her heart. She learned to hide it well. She never hinted it. She never allowed herself to slip, but the feeling did not fade. If anything, it grew. It grew as she watched him treat everyone with the same patience and kindness he once showed her. She realized that the moment on the set was not an accident. It was part of who he was. Keanu listened with his breath held inside his chest. He had no idea she felt any of this. He had always admired her humility, her strength, her generosity. But he never imagined she carried something deeper. He opened his mouth to speak, but Sandra raised her hand gently, stopping him. She said she needed to finish before he reacted, because if she stopped, she might never be able to continue. She said the real truth she had never told him was this. When she said the moment saved her life, she meant it. She said that on that old day she had been so overwhelmed that she had questioned whether she belonged in the industry at all. She questioned her worth. She questioned her place in the world, and his soft words became the one thing that made her stay. She said she sometimes wondered who she would have become if he had not spoken to her. She sometimes imagined how different her life might have been. But she always ended with the same thought. He saved her without knowing he saved her. The wind brushed across the balcony like a quiet echo of her words. Keanu felt emotion tighten in his throat. He had seen her strong. He had seen her funny. He had seen her fierce. But he had never seen her this open, this vulnerable, this honest. Sandra took one more breath and said something that changed the entire emotion of the moment. She said, "I thought telling you the truth would push you away. But now I feel it has been hurting me to hide it. I need you to know the whole story, not just the part where you helped me, but the part where I kept something from you that you deserved to hear years ago." Keanu's eyes softened. He whispered, "What did you hide from me?" Sandra looked right into his eyes and said, "You do not know what happened after that day. You do not know the biggest part of the memory, and that is what I have to tell you next." Her voice lowered. She said, "The truth is you saved me twice, not once. And the second time, you never knew anything about it." The mystery deepened, and now the story was ready to reveal something even bigger. The night felt heavier now. The air around them carried a quiet pressure as if the city itself was holding its breath. The balcony lights cast a soft glow on Sandra's face, revealing the worry and truth she had held inside for so long. Keanu could feel a shift inside him. Something deep and unspoken was rising between them, something that carried more weight than he expected when the evening began. He sat still, watching her, waiting for the words she had struggled all night to share. He knew this next part of her story would change something in him. He could feel it already. But he stayed calm, giving her the space she needed. He always understood that some truths only surface when a person feels truly safe. Sandra took a slow breath, her fingers lightly moving against each other as if searching for courage. She looked down at the floor for a moment before lifting her eyes to his again. Her voice sounded softer, almost fragile when she spoke. She said that the second time he saved her happened long after the first moment on the film set. It happened during a time she never talked about. A time when she seemed happy on the outside but was struggling quietly on the inside. She said no one noticed her pain, not even the people closest to her. She learned to hide it well. She smiled when she needed to. She acted strong even when her heart felt tired. She attended events, met people, and continued her work. But there were nights when she felt empty in a way no one saw. Keanu listened closely. He could see the truth of her words in her eyes. He had seen that look in others before, the look of someone who carried their pain silently. He had felt it himself at different times in his life. His heart softened even more as she continued describing the loneliness she had hidden from the world. Sandra explained that during this difficult period she reached a point where she questioned everything about her life again. Not just her career, not just her work. She questioned her purpose. She questioned her own worth. She questioned if she had been giving too much of herself to a world that sometimes forgot to give back. She said she felt like she was losing herself piece by piece, smiling at cameras while her heart felt disconnected. She admitted she had no one to talk to at that time. She did not want to burden anyone. She did not want to sound dramatic. She thought people would tell her to be grateful, to be thankful for her opportunities. But gratitude does not erase pain. She knew that. And so she kept everything inside until one night when her emotions overwhelmed her completely. She sat alone in her house, tears falling without warning. She cried quietly, not because she wanted attention, but because she felt she no longer recognized the person she had become. Keanu felt an ache growing in his chest as he imagined her alone like that. He had always admired her strength, her grace, her warmth. He had no idea she had gone through such a difficult time in silence. He wanted to speak, to comfort her now, but he stayed patient, knowing that she needed to finish the story without interruption. Sandra said that in the middle of that painful night she reached for the same notebook where she had written his words years ago. She said she opened it, expecting to read the sentence he had told her. She wanted to remind herself she was strong enough to continue. But when she opened the notebook, she did not find the words where she had expected them to be. Instead, a small piece of paper fell out. She remembered being confused. She picked up the paper and recognized the handwriting immediately. It was hers. She had written something else, something she had forgotten she wrote. She paused, and the suspense around them rose like a slow tide. She said the note read, "One day I will tell him the truth. But for now, I only want to become a better person because of what he made me believe about myself." She said reading those words made her cry harder, not from sadness, but because she realized she had spent so long becoming the version of herself she wished he could see. She realized she had shaped her life around the strength he awakened in her all those years ago. And she realized that even when they were far apart and living separate lives, the memory of his kindness had followed her like a quiet guiding star. Keanu felt his breath catch. He had never known the impact his words had made. He had never known he had been part of her healing journey long after the moment ended. The thought humbled him deeply. Sandra continued softly, saying that what happened next was the real moment he saved her for the second time. She said that after reading her old note, she opened her phone and searched for something she had never looked up before. She searched for interviews where people talked about him, not gossip, not headlines, but moments when he was described by people who had worked with him. She watched stories of him being kind, being gentle, being patient, being respectful toward everyone around him. She listened to people talk about his honesty, his humility, and his quiet strength. She said she watched video after video until her tears finally stopped. Then she said the words that made Keanu sit back in stunned silence. She said, "That night I realized something. I realized I wanted to become a better version of myself, not because of the world, not because of work, not because of success. I wanted to grow because you showed me what a truly good person looks like." She said the second time he saved her was not through direct words. He saved her through the consistent way he lived his life. He saved her through the example he never knew he was setting. He saved her through the quiet strength he carried without needing recognition. Keanu felt something warm rise in his eyes, though he blinked it away gently. He had never wanted to become someone's inspiration. He never aimed for it. He simply tried to be kind because kindness felt right. Hearing that his way of living had helped her through one of the darkest periods of her life made him feel overwhelmed in a way he could not describe. Sandra said she had carried all of this inside her for years. The admiration, the gratitude, the quiet respect. She said she kept it hidden because she feared he might feel uncomfortable. She feared he might misunderstand. She feared the truth might change their friendship. She said she learned to live with the silence inside her heart, even though that silence grew heavier with every passing year. She looked at him with soft eyes and said, "I do not want anything from you. I do not expect anything from you. I only want you to know the truth because it has lived inside me too long. I want you to know how deeply your kindness shaped me both then and now." Keanu slowly inhaled, feeling the weight of her confession settle into him. He felt honored. He felt humbled. But he also felt a quiet fear. He wanted to say something comforting, something reassuring, something honest. But he was afraid of saying the wrong thing. He was afraid of hurting her unintentionally, and he was afraid because she was right. This truth would change everything between them, whether they planned it or not. He opened his mouth gently, ready to speak, but before he could say anything, she lifted her hand again. Her voice trembled as she said, "I still have one final part of the story left. The most important part. The one thing you never knew about that day on the film set. The part I never told anyone, and I am ready to tell it now." Keanu felt a slow chill move up his spine. He could tell the final truth would be the most powerful of all. She whispered, "The real reason I broke down that day is something you never saw, and something you accidentally changed forever." The night held still. The final reveal waited ahead. The night seemed to freeze the moment Sandra said her final words. Something in her voice, something fragile and honest, made the air around them grow tighter and softer at the same time. Keanu sat still, feeling every beat of his heart as he waited for the truth she had carried for so long. He could feel the shift in her breathing. He could feel the emotion she was fighting to hold steady. He did not move. He did not speak. He simply gave her the silent space she needed, the same way he always had without even thinking about it. Sandra looked at the city lights for a long moment before her eyes slowly returned to his. Her voice was quiet but full of something that had lived in her for years. She said the real reason she broke down on that old film set was not just pressure, not just loneliness, not just exhaustion. She said it was something far deeper, something she never told anyone because she feared they would not understand. She feared it would make her look weak. She feared it would expose a part of her heart she rarely showed. She said that on that old day she did not just feel tired. She felt like she was failing herself. She felt like she had forgotten why she loved acting. She felt disconnected from her passion. She felt as if she was becoming a version of herself she did not recognize. She said she stood near that trailer door because she had been told earlier that morning that she was replaceable. Someone on the production team had spoken harshly to her. Someone told her she was not delivering the way they expected. Those words broke something inside her in a way she could not explain. Keanu's chest tightened. He had seen people struggle under pressure before. He had seen unfair words destroy confidence. But hearing that she had gone through that alone pained him deeply. He wanted to reach out, but he let her continue. Sandra's voice softened even more. She said she had believed those harsh words. She thought she truly was not enough. She thought she was losing everything she had worked for, and that fear crushed her. That was why she cried that day. She said she felt like she had reached the end of her strength. She said she had walked away because she thought the world no longer needed her. Keanu swallowed gently. He could feel the heaviness of the truth she had carried. Sandra then took a slow breath and revealed the part of the story he had never known, the part she had kept locked away all these years. She said when he approached her that day, when he told her she was stronger than she thought, he did more than comfort her. He shifted her entire path, but the deeper truth was this. She said the moment he walked toward her, she was about to make a decision that would have changed her life forever. She said she was not just planning to quit the project. She was planning to walk away from acting completely. She was going to tell her agent she was done. She was going to disappear from the industry quietly. Keanu felt his breath freeze. She said, "If you had arrived just 1 minute later, I would have left everything behind." Those words hit him like a quiet storm. Sandra continued, saying that she had already taken a step away from the trailer when he appeared. She remembered hearing his footsteps and assuming it was someone coming to scold her for walking off. She almost ran. She almost avoided him, but something made her stop. Something made her turn around. She said she now believes it was the last piece of strength she had inside her, reaching out for help without knowing it. Then she said the words that completed the truth. She said, "You did not just save my day. You saved my entire life path. Everything I became after that moment exists because you reached out when I could not stand alone." Keanu felt something warm rise in his eyes. He looked at her with a mixture of shock, gratitude, and deep emotion. He spoke softly, asking why she never told him before. Sandra looked away and said she kept it hidden because she did not want him to feel pressure. She did not want him to carry the weight of her journey. She wanted him to remain the kind person he was without feeling like he owed her anything. She said she stayed silent because she was afraid the truth might overwhelm him. Keanu gently shook his head in disbelief. He had never imagined that one small moment of kindness had shaped the life of someone he admired so deeply. He felt humbled in a way words could not capture. He finally spoke, his voice soft and steady. He told her that she never owed him anything. He told her he was grateful she trusted him enough to share this now. He told her that her strength did not come from him. It came from her. He only reminded her of it. Sandra blinked slowly, her eyes glistening not with sadness but with relief. She said she felt lighter than she had in years. She said releasing the truth felt like taking a deep breath after holding it in for too long. She said she was afraid he would think differently of her, but now she felt calm because his expression showed nothing but warmth. Keanu reached out his hand not to hold hers but to rest gently on top of it. A light touch, respectful, warm, he said, "I am glad you stayed. The world would have missed someone like you." She smiled gently, holding that moment close to her heart. They sat together in quiet understanding. The city lights flickered before them. The evening breeze carried a softness that wrapped around them like a blanket. For the first time in years, Sandra felt free. For the first time in years, Keanu understood the depth of something he never knew he gave. Their hearts felt lighter. Their friendship felt deeper. And the truth that once lived in silence finally found its place in the open air, respected, understood, and safe. The story of the memory was complete, but the moment marked a new beginning between them. Not dramatic, not forced, not rushed. Just two people connected by kindness, honesty, and the quiet power of a single moment that changed both of their lives in ways they never expected.